Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so we start our final webinar on the treatment in therapies, and today we are going to look at some of the principles again behind the application of these therapies, because this is required from a practical viewpoint. And then we will also just briefly look at one case study. uh, the therapies applied on the basis of specific principles, and these principles are either the target on the doshas, or they are generally classified into the catabolic and the anabolic processes of the body. So when we are applying these therapies, we need to understand how these therapies are able to target the doshas on the one hand and balance the anabolic and catabolic activities of the body. So in our first part of our discussion today, we will look at how the therapies and treatments relate to the doshas. And we have actually discussed about this briefly previously, but not in relation to specific therapies and specific doshas. So what we are going to discuss now is application of therapies at a practical level based on the imbalance of the doshas. So we will look at that first. So first of all, we look at what are the treatments for vata. So the treatments for each dosha is decided based on the properties of the doshas and the pathological process that actually involves a particular dosha. So now if you look at vata dosha, the problems due to vata is broadly of two kinds. Vata can get blocked, or vata can increase by a process of tissue wasting, by a process of wasting of the body. So the treatment for vata is generally of two kinds. One is we may have to remove the blockage of vata, or we may have to replenish the tissues. So the treatments for vata is also based on these principles. The treatment might be either serving the purpose of clearing the pathway of vata, removing the obstruction, or it may be done on the basis of the idea of replenishing the wasted tissues. So, for example, if you take bronchial asthma, a bronchial asthma is also caused by a derangement of vata, but in bronchial asthma, kapha or phlegm blocks the path of vata. So the primary treatment here is to remove the kapha from the system and enable vata to freely move. But if you take multiple sclerosis is a disease also related to vata, but here there is destruction of the myelin sheath of the nerves, which is we call as a damage or destruction of the tissue. So to control vata here, we need to do nourishing therapies, which will once again nourish the myelin sheaths and strengthen the nerves. So the treatment for vata, you can see here, the first treatment is called as smehana or oleation. which means the oral administration of oil, ghee, fat, and also internally and externally applying oil or fat to the body. Now you can imagine this is actually a treatment which will give nourishment to the tissues of the body. This is a treatment of vata derangement caused by the wasting of juice. So here nourishment is the methodology. So the second treatment for vata is svedana or sudation or sweating. What happens when you do sweating or sudation? Actually, the channels of the body open up and all the uh, materials that cause the blockage in the movement of vata, they are released or removed from the channels. So sneha and sveda, or oleation and sudation, or fermentation, or application of intake of oil for nourishment and application of fermentation for clearing the channels. These two treatments actually target the two conditions of vata, either wasting of the tissues, where you have to address it through oleation, and fermentation, which is to clear the channels of the, which helps the vata to move very freely. Is this clear? So sometimes we may have to do snehana or oleation to also loosen the materials that cause the blockage of vata. So usually before doing svedana or sudation, we do some snehana, and then when we do svedana, then all the blocks are very easily removed. So therefore, snehana is also, or oleation also has the purpose of not only nourishment, but also to loosen all the materials that block vata. So snehana and svedana are done together. And when we do these two processes, a lot of materials that block the channels of vata will be released and they will come into the alimentary tract. So to remove them, we have to do a mild purification procedure. We cannot exactly call this panchakarma, but we may do a mild emesis or a mild purgation. If you do a very strong, in vata condition, we never do any strong purgation because it will aggravate vata again. So only mild enough to remove the materials that cause the blockage of the channels of vata. And this is the three steps that we commonly do for the treatment of vata. So we have to choose the therapies accordingly. So even if you look at the tastes that are used, we use salt taste, sour taste, and sweet taste for the pacification of vata. And these three tastes are also applied when we do the therapies. For example, if we are going to give fermentation in the vata condition, and if we want to actually remove the blockage of vata, the best taste, the substance that we can use is salt. Salt has the best ability to clear the blockage of vata. So for example, in bronchial asthma, we are using oil mixed with salt. When you apply oil mixed with salt on the chest, then it causes the phlegm to get loosened very easily. The blocks are much easily removed. So salt is used when it's very strong. So we might even use salt along with herbs if we want to give a fermentation with a cloth bag. We will add salt if the minute channels are blocked. So once the channel blockage is removed, then we will use sour substances. like lemon and leaves, castor leaf and lemon. These are mixed together, and then we make into a bolus, and then we do the fermentation. Now, the sour paste has the ability to improve, activate vata. So after the block has been removed, we need to reactivate the movement of vata, and for this, sour paste is the best. So first we apply salt, then we apply sour paste, and once vata starts moving, we need to give nourishment. We use the sweet taste. So in use a specific rice called Shashtika rice. In Kerala, it is called as Navara rice. This is boiled with milk and bala, which is a herb, and this is very sweet. So this is the last type of fermentation that we do. So you can see the sequence and the principle of applying these. So a therapy in Ayurveda, which we discussed in the last three classes, all these therapies have effect only if we use them according to the principle. So for Vata, if we want to treat any Vata disease, we have to follow these steps. To clear the blockage, we have to do Sneha, Sweda, and then Shodhana, which means oleation, fermentation, and then mild cleansing. And when we do the paste in this sequence, use salt first, then sour first, and then the sweet. And generally for all types of vata, oil massage, after all the blocks have been removed, now we have to nourish and stabilize vata. And for that, oil massage is the main line of treatment. So we can see here how we have to choose specific treatments based on the dosha involved. And if this choice is wrong, then we don't get the desired effect. So these are the other treatments that we do. You know, in Vata, when we do the massage, we are supposed to apply some pressure. So this is called as Mardana. Mardana means it's a simple massage, but you have to apply some pressure. If you are treating Pitta, then your massage you should never apply pressure. So these are different things. And if it is Kapha, then you have to apply the maximum pressure. In Vata, we have to apply moderate pressure. And in Pitta, we should not apply any pressure. So you can see here again how the massage therapy which we do has to be modified according to the involvement of the dosha. Now most of the time, these type of modifications are not done in many of these spas and other retreats where they offer Ayurvedic treatment. And that's why sometimes we do not get the necessary results and benefits. So it's very, very important to decide what dosha is involved and then choose the right type of massage. And Veshtana is tying, the parts of the body very tightly, bandaging very tightly. This is again a very important treatment for Vata. So many of the bandages that we use in modern treatments, like bandage of the knee, bandage for the back, belts for the back, applying a belt, applying bandages. We apply crepe bandages for the feet to enable the circulation of the blood to return, to encourage return circulation. So all these things are actually, addressing vata. So wherever there is vata, we need to apply most of the time. You give a neck collar Hello, can you hear me? There was a break. Hello. Okay. Okay, thank you for confirming. There was a sudden interruption in the connection. So I continue from where we were. That in the case of Vata, we have to also pour herb options or oils on the affected part. This helps Vata movement to be normalized. So for Vata, this is the most important thing. Vata means movement. So we have to normalize the movements of Vata. Vata means stability of an organ. So that's why we have to tie it up and keep it stable. So pouring of herbal decoctions and oils on the affected part helps the Vata to get activated. So this improves, in our terms, we can say that it improves circulation. And then, certain types of wines are very good for Vata. This is because, in small quantities, these types of wines are able to relieve fatigue and also open the channels. But too much of alcohol can actually cause aggravation of Vata. So these are only special, wines prepared from corn flour and jaggery. These are mild wines which are considered to be good for Vata. Hello? Yeah. The reason these are good is because these wines open up the blocked channels and facilitate the movement of Vata. They stimulate the movement of Vata. And then the enema therapies are also recommended, and they should be hot and moist, and this will enable Vata to be moving in the right track. Hello? Hello? Ah, yes. Yes, so what I wanted to say was that uh, red wine is prohibited for Candida, but what Ayurveda recommends is not red wine at all. So there's no equivalent translation for Paishtika Gaudiga Madhya, which was a special type of fermented preparation which was used in ancient India. It's not red wine. It's not at all the wine that we are using today. So that's one point. And the other thing is that the dosha is totally different in Candida. In Candida, we are having a kapha situation, not a vata situation. So I don't know why we have to link Candida and vata at all. So the next thing is sukhashilata, which means all vata patients require assurance. Vata causes anxiety. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? I thought there was some interruption. Okay, yes. So Vata people also need a lot of assurance. Assurance in the sense they are extremely anxious and most of the time they need to be comforted. And that's another principle in the treatment of Vata. And then We need Vata people have a very erratic digestive fire. So when you treat Vata problems, we need to ensure that we use medicines that can increase your appetite and cause biotransformation of the food that we eat. And then finally, we need to give fat-based preparations for Vata. Now, this is very important also to understand that to get a pure Vata without a combination of other doshas is very, very rare. It's not so easy. So, we don't usually encounter a pure Vata condition. Pure Vata condition comes most of the time after we have done some treatments or in very chronic diseases, after long-standing chronic diseases. Most of the time, Vata will be associated with some other dosha. So, for example, if Vata is associated with Kapha, then we cannot do many of the treatments recommended here. If Vata is associated with Pitta, then we cannot do many of the treatments as mentioned here. So if there is even a little Pitta involved, then many of the heating treatments and even alcohol will be completely contraindicated. So Ayurveda also does not generally recommend alcohol, but alcohol is sometimes recommended in very small quantities as medicine. And in a Vata Pitta condition or Pitta Kapha condition or Kapha condition, certain types of alcohols are prohibited. So now we will come to the treatment of Pitta. So is the treatment for Vata is clear? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? I'm sorry, there is some interruption. I just need confirmation that you can hear me. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So now we come to the treatment of Pitta. So for Pitta, the internal intake of clarified butter or ghee is considered to be the best treatment because ghee pacifies Pitta and at the same time increases digestive fire. So when Pitta increases, actually there is a danger of the body tissues being burned and exhausted very quickly. So it's in order to protect and prevent damage to the body tissues that in Pitta we give uh, ghee. So any other fuel can actually increase the Pitta and the digestive fire together. You cannot, if this is the problem with Pitta and digestive fire, most of the things that we use increase both of them too. Or if we try to decrease Pitta, then digestive fire will also come down. So we need to bring Pitta down, but keep the digestive fire strong. And ghee is one substance that can do this. It brings pitta down, but also increases agni or digestive fire. So for this reason, it is, you know, indicated as first line of treatment for pitta. And in pitta, purgation is the best choice of cleansing. So the excess pitta needs to be removed from the system. And so purgation is a line of treatment. So we discussed about the therapies like emesis, purgation, and enema. When it comes to, we have to always consider the administration of a mild purgation. Like, for example, if a person has acidity, instead of trying to treat just with medications which will suppress it, Ayurveda says that if you give them a mild purgation, remove the excess pitta from the system, then the outcomes will be much more, significant, be much more effective than if you were trying to just simply suppress it. So for this reason, in any pitta disease, if you, before starting the treatment, if you do a purgation or virechana, you can find that the outcomes are much more better. And in pitta, we have to use the sweet, bitter, and astringent tastes. And there is also a sequence. We usually begin with pitta or bitter taste. The reason is that it is very light and does not affect the digestive fire. The next sweet taste is used, and then finally we use the astringent taste. So pitta people are extremely benefited by getting exposed to pleasant fragrances. Therefore, exposing them to fumes of herbs that are cool, pleasant, uh, applying various fragrances on their body. These are all recommended for the pacification of pitta. And also exposing the pitta, because pitta, amongst all the three doshas, the psychophysical component is most pronounced in pitta persons. So keeping them in very pleasant, atmosphere, in the company of people who are very pleasing and not irritating to him, making them play with small children, spending time with, in olden days, it was said that if you have a spouse who is very understanding and tolerant, so a lot of psychological measures have been mentioned to bring balance pitta. So both from the physical and mental level, bringing down the stress. This is because pitta people, amongst all the three doshas, when pitta is involved, there is greater stress. So what has been described here for pitta are the de-stressing procedures. So mere physical treatment doesn't work for pitta. You have to also balance it with de-stressing, procedures. So spending time near water reservoirs, near gardens, and then of course consuming milk and ghee, and uh, then doing the purgation therapy. These are considered to be the major methods of treatment for Pitta. Now, it's also very important, as I was telling, when we treat Pitta, we cannot do strong fermentation. Strong fermentations are not allowed. Alcohol is completely prohibited. And so are spicy foods are completely prohibited. So that is the principle for the treatment of Pitta. There's just a few more points is that when we treat Pitta and when we do massage, we have to do very soft massage. The massage shouldn't be too strong. And when we apply oil, we cannot do very strong fermentations. We have to do only what is called the pouring of mildly heated. Fermentation has to be done with mild warm liquids. So these are the peculiarities for Pitta. So as I was mentioned earlier in some of our previous webinars, Vata has to be treated like a friend. Vata people are very anxious, so they need a lot of assurance. Whereas Pitta people need attention. They should be treated like a king. They should be given a lot of importance. They should never be stressed. And then the Kapha people, we say, should be treated like an enemy because they have to be put to a lot of discomfort to be able to bring Kapha under control. As we can see here, Kapha people will require strong emesis and purgation. And they have to consume food which are dry. The food has to be limited. The foods that they take will be very strong, hot, pungent, bitter, and astringent taste. In certain types of kapha, old wine is recommended. And again, the translation of wine is approximate. These refer to certain types of fermented drinks that were prepared in ancient India. They don't resemble the modern, they are not related to the modern types of alcohols, but for want of a proper term, we are translating it as wine. Wine was not used in this way in ancient India. And sexual activity is recommended for bringing down kapha. Keeping awake at night. Exercise is a very good measure for kapha. So I'm just reminded of a very interesting study that scientists in Sweden, they took two groups of people. They made people to exercise vigorously for half an hour, and they took their blood serum before and after the exercise. And they injected this into prostate cancer cells. And very interestingly, they found that the serum that was taken after the exercise was able to destroy the cancer cells, whereas the serum taken before the exercise had no effect on the cancer cells. So the cancer, which is excess growth or kapha, according to Ayurveda, can be reduced by exercise. And today a lot of studies have indicated that exercising can affect and reduce the manifestation of kapha, even in extreme conditions like cancer. So exercise of different kinds are recommended in Ayurveda for bringing down kapha. And too much of exercise in vata and pitta can actually aggravate both vata and pitta. And some kapha people need to be also put to a little stress because they are too laid back and they do not feel motivated to do anything. So putting a little pressure, that's what is called as worry. It's not to make them worried or sorrowful or sad, but the idea is that kapha people need to be stressed or poked a little bit so that they become active. And you can see the difference in vata. We need a moderately strong, mild massage, but um, we have to apply some pressure, moderate pressure. In pitta, we shouldn't apply any pressure. Whereas in kapha, we have to do not only a dry massage, but we have to apply a lot of pressure to bring out the kapha. So in kapha, massage is also done, dry massage with herbal powders, and whereas in vata we use a lot of oil. And then as when it comes to cleansing, vamana or emesis is the method of treatment, and drinking of soups of grains, the use of honey, therapies and medicines that reduce fat, and inhalation of strong medicinal smoke. In pitta, we need to give people mild fragrances which are very soothing and which are very calming, whereas in we administer strong medicinal smoke. And fasting is also a very important treatment for kapha, and studies have shown that if you fast for a couple of days, then there's a complete renewal of your body tissues and cells, even stem cell. Agnihotra is comparatively mild. So in Ayurveda we use, strong smoke from gugulu. Gugulu smoke is very strong. And then turmeric, curcuma. Curcuma smoke, you dip curcuma in ghee and then burn it, and you get a very strong smoke. So this smoke is sometimes inhaled to remove nasal congestion, and also in conditions like sinusitis, when there is pain in the sinuses. To clear up the sinuses, we apply the smoke. And there's also a plant called datura, which is a poisonous plant. But the leaves are used and is used as a bronchodilator in bronchial asthma. Mild inhalation of this bronchodilator can open up the channels. So strong smoke is indicated. We can decide this according to the condition of the patient, the type of disease, and the amount of kapha that is actually increased in the body. But these same types of smokes can be disastrous. Use this in vata. So we have to be really careful about it. And then gargling. Then again you say in vata we have to give a lot of challenges and difficulties. Vata people, kapha people need to be put to some challenges. So that these challenges include, physical activity, mental activity, which are taxing. So this will increase the metabolic rate and make the person to kind of burn more calories and thereby to bring down kapha. So these are the three broad dosha concepts which we have to keep in mind when we apply the therapies that we learned about in this module so far. And these are again very ideal conditions. As I was mentioning, we may very rarely find a pure vata or a pure kapha or a pure pitta condition. So we usually have to combine. So if we have a Vata Kapha condition, we must balance the treatment for Vata and Kapha. If we have a Pitta Vata condition, we have to balance the treatment for the two. Like for example, if Vata and Kapha are there, then we have to give more importance to removing the blockage of Vata. And if there is a Vata Pitta condition, then we have to give more to the nourishment of the tissues, because a Vata Pitta condition is like, you know, it's a situation in which the body tissues are being wasted, whereas in Vata Kapha condition, there is a block. So, doshas combine and present, and most of the time they come in combination, they don't come alone. So you need to combine these principles. If there's a Kapha Pitta condition, then we have to use treatments from Kapha and Pitta which are suitable for both. Like for example, the bitter taste is suitable for both Kapha and Pitta, whereas the sweet taste is suitable only for Pitta, not for Kapha. So in this way, we will have to pick up. And the success of Ayurvedic treatment is based on choosing the right treatment according to the dosha. And that's where the whole effort lies. If you are choosing the wrong treatment, even if it is performed correctly, like for example, you have a pitta condition and then you do a massage which is strong, and you did it perfectly well. I mean, there was nothing wrong with your massage. The massage was perfect, but you chose the wrong patient. So in a pitta condition, if you give a slightly strong massage, and pitta will get aggravated. And if you give the powder massage strong, suppose you are a therapist who is very good in doing the powder massage, you can do it perfectly. But if you do this in a condition in which vata is increased, then even if you do the massage perfectly, you will not get the proper result. So this is what we are discussing here today. We learned the treatment procedures, but the success depends on choosing the exact context in which you have to use them. And that's what, and in choosing the context, consideration of the dosha is of primary importance. So that's what we are discussing now. And so we discussed the general principles of management for the three doshas and how you will choose a particular type of treatment for a particular type of dosha. So can you recall that the salt taste? In which condition will we use this? Not only salt taste, salt substances. Are you able to hear me? I just wanted to know whether the logic has been understood. I'm just asking a simple question. For which dosha and which condition can we use salt substances? Able to hear me? Hello? Okay. Okay, so I just asked a question. So since I didn't get an answer, okay. Yes, so by the time the answer comes, I think we will move on. So as we were mentioning, these are the treatments for individual doshas, and they have to be combined very carefully when we see the combination of the doshas. So as general principle, the combination of vata and pitta is very similar to the situation in summer. And so the line of lifestyle and diet that is prescribed for summer is to be used for vata and pitta. And the combination of kapha and vata is very similar to the spring season. And the combination of kapha and pitta is very similar to the autumn season. So if we want to know how to manage the combination of the doshas, then we can look at the regimens for these seasons, and then we can understand the principles of how to tackle combination of two doshas. So in a kapha vata combination, we have to target more to remove the blockage of vata first, and then we have to, so we may need some strong measures to clear the blockage of vata. In kapha and pitta, we have challenges because kapha is cold and pitta is hot. So if we use too much of heat, then it increases, and if we use too much of cold, kapha will increase. So we need to work around this conflict. So kapha pitta diseases are sometimes a little bit challenging to balance. And many skin diseases are kapha and pitta. Now we have some general principles on how to treat the different doshas in a disease. The best time to treat a dosha is before it has become deranged, in the stage of accumulation. So when they are in the stage of accumulation, doshas can be very easily treated and controlled. And when they are in their stage of kopa or yes, we should be very careful. The problem is when we try to treat one dosha, it can lead to the imbalance of the other dosha. Like for example, if when we are treating kapha, if we overdo the treatment of kapha, then both pitta and vata can get increased. Because to treat kapha, we will be using a lot of hot substances. And when we overdo it, then pitta can increase. And after the pitta increases for a long time, then vata can also increase. So the key to Ayurvedic treatment is to learn how to treat one dosha without balancing the other, without imbalancing the other. When we treat one dosha, we must maintain the balance of the other doshas. And this is quite challenging. And in some situations, we have the simultaneous increase of all the three doshas. So we will have a challenging situation, and we will need to decide which dosha we must control first. So the most powerful or the most aggravated dosha has to be controlled first, And when we control that, we have to make sure that the other doshas are not imbalanced. And this is the reason why in Ayurveda we use complex formulations and complex therapies. We combine them in many ways when we are doing a single procedure, for example, fermentation. We may change the method of the steam, we may change the ingredients of herbs which we are using. All this is done because we don't want the treatment of one dosha to cause the imbalance of the other dosha. So that's why in Ayurveda we say that the treatment which cures one disease and gives rise to another disease, this is not a good treatment. This is not appropriate treatment. So a pure treatment is that which cures a disease and does not produce another disease. And this is why we generally say that Ayurvedic treatment is safe. So this has to be mentioned, quote unquote, with a certain pinch, because the safety of Ayurvedic treatment entirely rests on the patient, on the physician. It's not on the drugs. Ayurvedic drug is not safe unless it is used safely. Ayurvedic treatment is not always safe unless it is used safely. So what we can say is Ayurveda is safe if applied properly and safely by a well-trained physician. So if the same treatments are applied wrongly by ill-trained physicians, then we can encounter a lot of unwanted effects. So what we are discussing today are those principles on the basis of which we can make Ayurvedic treatments balanced, and the dosha consideration is most important. So now suppose we have a Vata Kapha condition. Which dosha should we treat first is the question. How do we decide? This is very important. So if your treatment can go wrong if you choose the wrong dosha to treat first. So if we look at Vata and Kapha, you can imagine that Kapha is likely most of the time to cause blockage for Vata. So when Kapha causes blockage of Vata, there is no point in using treatment that will pacify Vata, because treatment pacifying Vata will increase Kapha. So if you try to pacify Vata in a Vata Kapha condition, then you end up increasing Kapha, which will again cause further blockage of Vata. So when Vata and Kapha come together, we have to first deal with Kapha. You must remove the blockage of Kapha, and then only we can address Vata. So in this way, when doshas are combining together, we have to decide which dosha to tackle first, and then which dosha should be tackled later. And this is the key to safe treatment in Ayurveda. Herbs are not safe, treatments are not safe, but the logic with which we use them makes these treatments and interventions safe. Is this clear? Okay. Now, it's another very important concept that we have to be familiar with is the movement. Not always. We need to understand the relationship between the two doshas. So when Vata and Kapha come together, we know that Kapha can block Vata. So first to step, as long as the block is not removed, there is no use in trying to normalize Vata. That's the reason why we choose Kapha first. So if it is Kapha Vata, we would have still chosen Kapha to do first, to treat first. So that which will, by removing which, by handling which, there are more chances of both doshas stabilizing. That is the sequence in which we have to treat the doshas. So I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. So it's not just the second one. It is based on the relationship between the two doshas. Our principle is we must treat the doshas in such a way that the aggravated doshas will not undergo further aggravation. The balanced doshas will not get aggravated. And that both the doshas should get stabilized. That should be the treatment strategy. If you treat like this, then you will not encounter. No, I said kapha. Because kapha blocks vata. See, when a car is blocked in traffic, we cannot move it without removing the block. Treating vata first would be like trying to move the car when it's blocked on all four sides. How can we make the car move if it is blocked on all four sides? So we have to first remove the block and then the car can be moved. That's the principle. Is that clear? Is that clear? Yes, in Vata Pitta, you know, Pitta is like fire and Vata is like wind. So you just understand wind will make the fire stronger. You know the logic. So when a wind is blowing the fire and making it stronger, it's very difficult to put out the fire. So we have to first specify the wind. You can see if the wind goes down, the fire flame becomes less strong, and then you are able to manage it. So Vata Pitta is a condition where, like wind blowing the fire, Vata is making the fire very strong. So here we must first control Vata. It's just logic. When Vata is controlled, the fire becomes less intense. And then you can easily treat the fire. So is this clear? Is this clear? This is very important, so I would like to get your feedback that you understand it clearly. Okay. And so this is the way in which we balance the doshas. And as I was mentioning and repeating again, if the logic in sequencing this is not proper, then even good treatments will not give results. So now we are going to talk about the movement of doshas. Doshas keep moving from the alimentary tract to the other tissues and back. So we just talked about the good effects of exercise. But exercise, when it is done wrongly, in the wrong time, can actually cause doshas to move into unwanted places. Like, for example, if you exercise heavily after food, then this will cause the movement of ama into the channels, and it will cause blockage. So according to Ayurveda, we should not, we should not exercise heavily after taking it, or we shouldn't exercise when our food has not been fully digested, or it's in the process of digestion. This is really very, very crucial. So a half-cooked or half-digested food when we do exercise will move very quickly from the alimentary tract to the shakas or the external areas of the body, and this will cause the accumulation of ama. So, and so also when there is very strong heat in the body, the doshas tend to move out into the channels, and also by doing unhealthy lifestyle. These are the factors which cause the movement of the doshas from the alimentary tract to the periphery. And these are the causes of all diseases. And on the other hand, and also when vata becomes extremely aggravated, there is an accumulation of waste all over the body. The opposite happens when we control vata, when there is an excess aggravation of increase in the waste products, they all come back into the alimentary tract. So there is a continuous movement of doshas back and forth from the alimentary tract to the rest of the body, and again back to the alimentary tract from the rest of the body. So when we are doing snehana, svedana, these treatment procedures, we facilitate, or when we follow a very good healthy lifestyle, when we take food only when we have strong digestion, when we do exercise only in the proper timings, then the doshas and the wastes come into the alimentary tract. And when it comes into the alimentary tract, then it becomes easy for us to remove them. So what is important here is that we have to facilitate the process of the movement of doshas back into the alimentary tract. This is one important principle I want to tell. Today we are having, ambulatory panchakarma. Means people visit clinics and they do walk out of the clinic and they go home and they are active. This is extremely dangerous because one of the principles here is rest is needed to bring doshas back to alimentary tract. So if you are not resting during the period of Panchakarma, then you will be enabling the doshas actually to go back and spread all over the body. So we should not do Panchakarma without admitting the patient. So in many places this is being done nowadays. Patients just walk into the clinic procedure and go away. And they're very active in their day-to-day activity. So here vata becomes increased, and then all the doshas that we have precipitated in the body, they will go and spread everywhere, and you will not get a proper result. So during Panchakarma or cleansing procedure, bed rest is very crucial. You need to be admitted in a hospital to go through this procedure. And when we do that, all the waste materials that are precipitated will come to the alimentary tract, from where it's very easy to remove them. Is this clear? So when it comes to deciding which dosha to treat, there are also other parameters and other factors that we have to consider. If in the location of kapha, vata increases, then we must first treat that dosha which is not naturally located in that place. So first that should be done. So if vata increases in the location of kapha, then we must treat vata first. If kapha increases in the location of vata, then we must treat kapha first. So this is another rule. So there are many rules when it comes to the doshas, and which rule we follow will depend on the condition. So sometimes we discussed earlier that vata, and when vata and kapha are there, we have to treat kapha first and then vata. But this rule may be ignored if you find that vata is actually increased in a location where kapha is naturally there, or vata is increased, and it is very strongly increased in that location. Then instead of treating kapha first, we may have to treat vata. So this is called as the akandu dosha, or the foreign dosha, or the visiting dosha. The sthanika is the natural dosha of that location. But ultimately we can say the principle is that we must treat that dosha which is dominating and which is extremely strong in a given situation. So that is the principle. So in some conditions, like doshas remain in the peripheral parts of the body, it's very difficult to bring it into the alimentary tract and then remove them. So these are the diseases which trouble the patient for a long time. In all these conditions, like skin diseases, for example, we are not able to completely eliminate the doshas from the system. We may have to slowly digest these doshas and then slowly bring it into the stomach over a period of time and then eliminate them little by little. So understanding where the doshas are located, this is also very crucial. So in such conditions where doshas are trapped in the shaka, there is no use of immediately doing panchakarma. So that's what we are discussing today. When does a treatment become effective? That is really most important, and not just simply performing emesis or purgation in all the patients, saying that we can clean you, make your body clean. Your body will not be clean. In fact, your body can be completely damaged if you do panchakarma in such a situation. It will cause aggravation of vata and lead to many complications. So these are different principles that we need to keep in mind when we choose a particular therapy or a treatment. So in such conditions, before we prepare the patient for panchakarma, we may have to do several weeks or several months of preparatory treatment, ensuring that all the waste is now mobilized and has come back into the alimentary tract. And once we are sure that they have all been mobilized and brought for elimination, then we can give purgation or emesis, and then they can be eliminated from the system. So is this clear? So we also need to know when doshas and ama come together, then there are very special signs, and we have to deal with the ama before we deal with the dosha. So when it comes to choosing treatments, this means that we have to first do the digestion of the ama, and then we remove some doshas after that, not before digesting the ama. Usually when there is ama in the system, there is obstruction of the channels, there is loss of strength, there is a feeling of heaviness, there is a blockage of vata, there is tiredness, there's loss of digestive power, and there's loss of salivation from the mouth, and also, expectoration. There is constipation, or the body does not have the ability to remove the waste freely from the system. There's anorexia, loss of appetite, and complete exhaustion. So to know whether the body is free of ama, you have to look at the opposite signs. When there is no sign of blockage, there is lightness of the body, there is no feeling of tiredness, when the doshas or malas or wastes are freely moving, eliminated from the system, then we can understand that the ama has been cooked or removed from the system. So this is also very important to understand before we are deciding to tackle specific doshas. The treatment for doshas with ama and without ama are slightly different, because when the dosha ama, we have to also deal with the ama first and then deal with the dosha. So here we're just reviewing an earlier discussion that we had, and this is clinically very important, that there's a difference between ama and indigestion. Ama is not just indigestion. Indigestion is called in Ayurveda as ajirna, whereas we call ama only when it has affected the tissues or the dhatus. When indigestion leads to the buildup of improperly formed dhatus in the body, then we call it as ama. Improperly cooked food is called indigestion. So the treatment for indigestion, the treatment for ama are different. So it's important to know that ama is at the level of dhatus mainly, and indigestion is at the level of the alimentary tract. And so if we want to eliminate ama from the system, we have to work at the level of the dhatus, not just at the level of the tract. For example, indigestion can be easily handled by skipping a meal or fasting for some time. Indigestion can be resolved without producing ama. But once ama has established in the dhatus, we need to do more stronger measures to actually cook the ama and remove it from the system. Yes, we can say it is ama when, there are, ama actually means improper transformation. So this would usually result in metabolic products which are not normal in the body. Like for example, in diabetes, we have glycated proteins. This is according to Ayurveda ama, because the excess glucose binds with proteins and produces glycated proteins. The glycated proteins cause microvascular damage. So this is according to Ayurveda sroto rodha, or damage to the channels. So in diabetes you can see this process. So there would always be some chemical byproducts, and of course this would lead to changes at the cellular level because the chemical processes of the body get altered, and this leads to physiological as well as structural damage. In the early stages, it could be physiological imbalances, or it could be at a later stage even structural problems. So it could be both. So more than the physiological changes, because even when there is ama, there need not be immediately physiological changes. So what is more important is that if there are substances produced by the body which are not natural and which do not have a specific function, then they are likely in the near future to interfere with functions by causing physiological imbalances. So when a physiological imbalance has been produced, it's already late. It means that we have already the ama has become established and caused some damage. So what Ayurveda says is that even before physiological changes are registered, we have to treat ama. Is this clear? Okay, so this is about ama, and then a big mistake that people do is to try and remove the sama doshas or doshas along with ama. They should not be immediately removed. This is a wrong application of Panchakarma. That's why I'm discussing it today. That a dosha, this is a wrong context in which therapies are done sometimes. So we should not do purification Panchakarma therapies in such a situation. So this says that if you try to extract juice from a hard, unripe fruit, you don't get the juice, but you destroy the fruit. In a similar way, when you try to remove the ama from the body, when the ama has not been cooked and is not ripe, then it will damage the dhatus or the tissues. So this is a very important principle. So first we have to give drugs which are digestive, which increase hunger. Then we have to do snehana and svedana, and only later we should do the eliminative therapies. And so this is then the context of the Panchakarma. Once the ama has been removed, once the ama has been cooked and all the doshas have been brought into the alimentary tract, then we can choose an appropriate method of elimination which will remove the dosha body. Now there is a preventive way method through which we can proactively work on the doshas and make sure that they do not accumulate or increase in the body. So the best time to treat vata by a cleansing treatment by using enema or vasti is in the junction of summer and rainy season. So for people who are doing this kind of cleansing regularly, they will not get the imbalance of the doshas. So pitta should be removed between the junction of rainy season and autumn. And kapha should be removed from the body at the junction of winter and spring. So these are the natural periods in which the doshas can be eliminated. But this is in a healthy person. But in a diseased person, we have to find out whichever dosha is accumulated. Depending on that, irrespective of the seasons, we can do the eliminative therapy. Svedana does not really cook the ama, only mobilizes and brings the ama to the alimentary tract. So snehana is done to precipitate. So this is a good question because there are many ways to remove the ama, by cooking or by precipitation. So cooking can be done only with pachana herbs. So be done only if the ama is not seen in very large quantities. Moderate quantities of ama can be cooked. But large quantities of ama cannot be cooked. When ama is seen in large quantity, we have to actually precipitate. Precipitated means we do snehana, which does not cook the ama, but which makes it to increase and overflow from the dhatus. So the excess ama will, when you do snehana therapy or oleation, it will get separated. Just like, when we apply a little water to a paper that has been stuck with the glue loosens up, and then we are able to remove it. So in a similar way, Nehana will hit the ama, bring it in, and once precipitated, we need to make it mobile. So Svedana makes the ama mobile and brings it to the koshta. And from there we can remove it. So removal of ama is done by two processes, cooking or precipitation. Is this clear? No, snehana causes precipitation and svedana makes the ama mobile. So they're both different. So if you do svedana, doing svedana without snehana is of no use. You have to first loosen up. So snehana loosens up. Loosens the ama. Snehana will loosen the ama and Svedana will make it mobile. Okay, so is that clear? Yes, it's good to ask these questions because these are really, very, very crucial points to understand. They're very subtle differences, and I'm glad that you asked this question. So the point is that without understanding these principles, panchakarma and many of our treatment procedures can actually be harmful for the body. And so that is why we needed to make this point very clear. Pachana means actually cooking. So pachana is done with the help of herbs that can literally cook the ama. So you can say ginger. Ginger is an example of a pachana medicine. Pepper is an example of a pachana medicine. There are also other herbs like, Picro Rhiza kurova. This is also a Pachana medicine. This is known as Katuki in Ayurveda. So all these substances cause, will cook the ama, and after cooking, for example, the best medicine, cooking Pachana medicine, is Haritaki. Because Haritaki not only cooks the ama, but will also bring it to the gut and also remove it. I hope you know Haritaki. Haritaki is Terminalia chebula. So this is the best Pachana medicine in Ayurveda. Ginger, pepper, they only do the cooking. After that, we have to use other medicines to bring them to the gut and then to remove them. But if you use Terminalia chebula, which is Haritaki, then it does all the three steps, that it cooks, it brings, and then it throws out. Is this clear? Is this clear? So it's not recommended in Ayurveda because it can also aggravate Pitta in the process. It's not used in Ayurveda as a Pachana medicine. So substances which can also hurt the dhatus in the are not recommended in Ayurveda. So yes. So now we come to the time for taking the medicines. I'm not going into all the details because those are little complex principles. You can read it, but I think this is for level 2. But it's important to know that medicines are recommended in Ayurveda in different times, and these are all based on different principles. That you can give the medicine on empty stomach, you can give the medicine just before food, you can give the medicine in between the food, you can give medicine at the end of the food, you can give medicines in between morsels of food, you can give the medicine which morsel of the food, you can give the medicine several times in a day, you can mix the medicine with food and give it, and you can also give medicines before and after food and also at night. So even the timing for taking medicines will alter the effect of the medicine. And here, I don't want to go into all the logics because it will take a long time to explain. It's quite at a more advanced level, but you can know that empty stomach is for kapha, and taking at night is for diseases affecting head and neck, as well as for rasayana effect. And eating medicine, consuming medicine intermittently is for prana. And in this way, you can see that the timing of the medicine also addresses specific doshic imbalances. So for a ready reference, you can use this chart and then decide when actually you have to give a medicine. Maybe in the future, we can also have a more detailed discussion on the logic behind the different times for taking medicines. But now you can just look at this as a checklist, which you can just follow. If you find apana is affected, you give it before food. If you think samana is affected, you have to give in between food. So now it's just important to know when and where to give. The logic requires very elaborate explanation, which we will try to attempt in the future. So with this, we come to the end that we were scheduled to discuss today. We have one more module to complete and then a small case study. So we will continue. So as I said, the other principle, on the basis of which we have to decide when and where to give therapies, is the two types of treatment, which we call as anabolic and catabolic approaches to treatment. treatments that are based on the stimulation of the anabolic activities of the body, and treatments that are based on the stimulation of catabolic activities of the body. So generally, all treatments in Ayurveda are nourishing or depleting. And we know that this is Brahmana and Lankana. We have discussed about this. So today, I'm just going to link up these concepts with the treatment therapy procedures that we have learned. The Santarpana treatment is nourishing and enriching, and we discussed today the treatment for Vata. The primary treatment of Vata is nourishing. So when there is a Vata imbalance, we have to do nourishing treatment. And if you look at a therapy, oiling, massage, you can say Santarpana. So we need to understand each and every therapy in terms of whether it is nourishing or depleting or cleansing. So if you take powder massage, this is a depleting type of treatment. So I would like to ask you a couple of questions now. Fermentation, what type of treatment will it be? Is it nourishing or depleting? Means I'm asking whether Svedana, whether it is nourishing or depleting. Yes, of course. So this is the thing. Like any therapy that you take, we need to look at it whether it's depleting or nourishing, whether it will address Vata, which dosha will it address. So now you can say that when we use Svedana in Vata, what will be the purpose? So in Vata, the purpose of Svedana is to remove the kapha which causes the block. Whereas when we do Svedana in kapha, then the purpose is to reduce the kapha. So the type of drugs that we choose will be different. So when we want to use Svedana in Vata, we may use substances which are aimed to remove kapha and also balance Vata at the same time. That's why I said we will use salt substances. Whereas when we want to reduce kapha, we use pungent substances. So we use in Vata condition we use salt, and in kapha condition we use horse gram, and then long pepper and such other pungent substances. So that helps in reducing kapha. So depending on the doshas, we have to really decide what type of treatment we have to give. So all the therapies become effective when they are used based on these principles. So that is what we say: oleation or lubrication, drying treatment, sweating therapy, or astringent or stambhana therapy. All of these can ultimately be resolved under these two categories. So snehana and stambhana can be categorized as brahmana or nourishing therapy, and rukshana and svedana. So rukshana means drying therapy. So an example is powder massage. So powder massage is a drying therapy, and this will come under depletion. And stambhana means, arresting. Like, for example, if there's diarrhea and you give a strong medicine to stop it, this is indirectly brahmana because, or nourishing, because it prevents the loss of nutrients, fluids from the body. So when there is bleeding and when you stop bleeding by applying some herbs, we call that as stambhana. Stambhana means to block or stop. So stambhana is the opposite of svedana. Stambhana makes the substances immobile. So we should never do stambhana in ama. It can cause further the stagnation of ama. So stambhana is done when the body is losing wanted substances, and svedana is done to enable the body to remove unwanted substances. I hope this is clear. Stambhana is done to enable the body to preserve wanted substances. So when we do stambhana, the body is able to withhold and keep substances that it would have otherwise lost. So when there is bleeding, we do stambhana and the bleeding stops. If you do svedana when there is bleeding, then the bleeding will increase. So svedana is done to remove unwanted substances, and stambhana is done to prevent the loss of wanted substances. Is this clear? Okay. So we continue. So again, no, unless there is excessive bleeding. So actually regulation of menstruation is done in Ayurveda by a combination of Vedana and Stambhana. And there are substances like, in Ayurveda we have a herb called Ashoka, which is very good Stambhana. Kutaja is a very strong Stambhana medicine. So Stambhana is used in any antiemetic drug, antidiarrheal, and hemostatic. All these medicines are, according to this principle, they are sadhana. Of these concepts earlier, but after studying the therapies, I'm just trying to explain them from a practical applied perspective. So we did not discuss at this level earlier. So now we are looking at the context in which they should be applied. So Langhana therapy, we know already that they are classified into Shodhana and Samana, and we have bloodletting, all these things in which we remove substances from the body. And then we also have, here we study the 7 types of Langhana, which is Pachana is digestive, Dipana is increasing digestive capacity, fasting with and without water, and then physical activity, exposure to sunlight, and exposure to the wind. These are all, considered as part of the Langhana treatment. So here are some. I'm sorry, these slides they are a little bit too much of you know matter in one. Are you able to read this? Maybe you have to enlarge it. It's only one level of enlargement possible. Or are you able to see the slide? So yes. So here, we have to choose the treatments based on certain parameters and criteria. So any Brahmana treatment should be done in people who are emaciated by diseases. Like for example, if a person is really very weak from a particular disease, we have to do Brahmana type of treatment. Cannot allow such a person to lose more nutrient fluid. So patients who are having chronic diseases, patients who have been taking medicines for a long time, people who have been drinking a lot of alcohol, people who have been excessively doing sexual activity, people who are affected by sorrow and grief, people who carry heavy loads frequently, and people who are frequent travelers and who become emaciated because of excessive travel, people who have chest injury, those who are debilitated due to injury, those who have excessive dryness, those who are debilitated, the person with a Vada body type, the pregnant woman, the woman who has delivered immediately post-delivery care, children, and the aged. And also, these are the indications for Brahmana therapy. So you can keep this as a checklist. Like if you are doing a massage or a treatment which is going to nourish and increase, the dhatus of the body, then you have to make sure that such a person fulfills these criteria. So we are discussing this to enable you to really choose a particular type of treatment, a particular kind of therapy, and make sure that the person is really suitable for that. So in a similar way, so the methods of Brahmana is you can give meat, milk, sugar, ghee, enema prepared, sweets and fats, sleep, oil massage, bath. So all these things are recommended in these conditions for, stimulating Brahmana. Now we look at the persons who need Langhana. So before you give a treatment of thinning, slimming therapy, where we are going to do a dry massage or a strong Svedana. So these are the patients in whom, people who are diabetic, they require exercise and, treatments which will reduce the fat and excess glucose in the system. People who are suffering from ama, they need Langhana treatment. We should not give them any Brahmana treatment. So never post them for massage. Oil massage is contraindicated in ama. This is a common mistake that people make. Oil massage should never be given if a person has ama. So most common mistake made in Ayurvedic spas today. The patients are subjected to oil massage without really considering whether there is ama in the system. So this happens even in India. Now people who have undergone excess oleation treatment, they should also be first subjected to Lankana. They should not be given Brahmana. People who have fever, people who have stiffness of the thighs, people who are suffering from skin diseases, people who are suffering from diseases like herpes, abscess, diseases of the spleen, diseases of the head, throat, and eyes, and of course those who are obese, and also during the winter, the lung treatment should be done. So this is a checklist for us to be able to decide which therapies to use when. So for example, powder massage or strong fermentation will be done uh, in these patients. So there are many methods of lung. And in Ayurveda, the specific curative properties are made by adding herbs. So the herbs will have to be given without mixing with oil. So any Brahmana treatment in a condition which requires Lankana can actually cause problems. So Ayurveda favors that we should always first try to do a little Lankana rather than doing Brahmana. Brahmana can always be done at the end. We must not misuse Lankana. So patients with these diseases, they are those who are obese, can you complete your question? Yeah, the frankincense of Brahmana. So what? There is no problem in doing that. In fact, frankincense would be, considered as a Lankana, the Lankana therapy. Is that clear? No, you have not understood the concept of oil. Oil, or the way the word oil is used in modern science, the word sneha is different in Ayurveda. The word sneha means substances which have cold and moist properties, which we say shita and snigdha. So only few oils would fit into this category, like coconut oil, sesame oil, and then ghee, butter. These are all what Ayurveda calls as snehas. Mustard oil is different. It's very hot and dry. So the confusion, this is the confusion, if you translate sneha as oil, then it's a problem. This is the problem that comes from translation. Now there are volatile oils which are very lankhana, which are very strong. Just because we also call them oil, we cannot say that sneha is in Ayurveda. So the definition of sneha is that something which causes the increase in the fat or bulk of the body. Frankincense oil does not have that property. So oil in modern sense has a different meaning. Sneha is not equal to oil. Is that clear? According to Ayurveda, it should have Shita and Snigdha guna. That is Sneha. Okay. Yeah, but these are very, very important and very, very key questions. I'm glad that you are asking them so that the concept becomes more clear. So typically in Ayurveda, the oils that are used for Brahmana, we discussed earlier, these are sesame oil, then ghee, and then marrow and tallow. So these are the substances that are used for snehana. And so these are very specific properties of these fatty substances. Right. So many oils are actually, and most of these things, only those which increase kapha, one of their properties should be that they increase kapha. So, but many of the volatile oils actually increase pitta. So something which increases pitta cannot really be considered as a sneha. So if you take a oil from, cumin seeds, you can maybe call that it is oil, but it will be extremely strong and it will be increasing pitta. So I hope this is clear. Yes, so these are the various methods of the Lankhana therapy that we can use. And here is a principle that those who are to be given or thinning therapy should not be given Brahmana or stoutening therapy, and those who are to be given Brahmana should be given mild Lankhana. See, the principle is that to nourish the dhatus, in order to nourish the dhatus, we need to have strong digestive fire. The fire should be strong, and then the channels should be clear. So Lankana treatment increases fire and clears the channel. So any substance that can do this is part of Lankana treatment. They are not part of Brahmana treatment. So some, like mustard oil, can increase fire and clear the channel. So it becomes part of Lankana treatment. Any treatment or medicine which nourishes the tissues is called Brahmana. And nourishment cannot happen unless the Agni is strong and the channels are clear. That's the reason why we say when Ama is there, Agni is weak and channels are not clear. So when you do Brahmana in such a condition, only the Ama will increase. The nourishment will not reach the dhatu. So that's the reason why we say always, and only then we should do Brahmana. So first the Agni has to be increased, the channels have to be made clear, and then when we do the nourishment, it will reach the tissues. So this is also true, like in a condition like cancer, we have to also ensure that it's not the cancer that will increase, but we will remove or eliminate the cancer cells and then target the tissues. This is the big challenge in medicine. When we try to kill the cancer cells, normal cells are also, and when we try to protect the normal cells, cancer cells are also protected. So really we have to work around and find a way in which we are able to just kill the cancer cells and protect the normal cells. So that is what we mean by the balance of Brahmana and Lankana. And for that, the first stage of the treatment has to be Lankana, where you clear the way and then give the treatment, nourish the dhatu. Is this clear? Is this clear? Do you need any further explanation? Yes, but if you have further doubts, you can please clear it now, because this will be our last class dealing with treatments. Next we are going to the surgical procedures in Ayurveda and then these 8 branches. So I would suggest that you can get this cleared now. So if you need any further clarification. Ayurveda is all about enhancing the immunity of the system. And Brahmana means enhancing immunity and nourishment of the tissues. So the only thing is, if you want to do Brahmana, then you must have a good digestive and metabolic state. That's what we call as Agni. We have Agni. And then we have to ensure that the transformation happens in a perfect way. So for this, the channels have to be clear. So that's the purpose of Lankhana. Lankhana ensures these two conditions. And then we give Brahmana. Do you have questions regarding this? No, actually immunity improves when we balance Lankhana and Brahmana. Now, when there is an ideal balance of Lankhana and Brahmana, this is what we call as Rasayana. What Rasayana is nothing but Lankhana and Brahmana done together in a proper balance. So that when the body goes out of balance, we first have to balance it. So in the treatment, we do Lankhana first, and then we do Brahmana, and then we balance the both. So immunity, the real enhancement of immunity happens through balance, and that balance of the both is called as Rasayana, which means in Rasayana we have the ignition of Agni, the clearing of the channels and nourishments happening at the same time. But when a person is sick, we have to first ignite Agni, then clear the channels, and this can actually cause depletion of immunity temporarily of the patient. So that is why when we do these treatments, we ask the patient to be in the hospital. They will go through a process of reconstruction. And during the treatment of Panchakarma, we say that immunity actually comes down. So we say the patient has to be taken care of, just like with that much care we take when we carry a pitcher of oil on our head. The oil can spill any moment. We have to treat the patient with such care. So after Lankhana, we will start giving Brahmana, and then slowly the patient's strength will increase. And once that basic stabilization is done, we have to do both together, and that process is called as Rasayana. So this is the sequence of Ayurvedic treatment: Lankhana, Brahmana, and Rasayana. So if you ask whether Lankhana can improve immunity, yes, to the extent that it enhances Agni and opens the channels, Lankhana contributes to immunity. But in the absence of Brahmana, if you just increase the Agni and if you just open the channels and there is no nourishment to the body, then Lankhana cannot increase immunity. Similarly, Brahmana can enhance immunity only if there is Agni and the channels are clear. Otherwise, whatever nourishment we give, it will not enable. So we cannot say that either Lankhana or Brahmana by itself enhances immunity. Actually, only a balance of the two will enhance immunity. So I hope that that point is clear. Now, that is why we say uh, Brahmana actually for strength, nourishment of the body. And so when you do Lankhana therapy, there is clarity of sense organs, there is removal of waste from the body, there is lightness of the body, there's good taste perception, hunger and thirst come together, there is lightness in the chest region, the alimentary tract becomes, clear, there is increase of enthusiasm. So this is the answer also, what I have been talking now, that both these treatments are dependent on each other. And that's what we discussed now, that if we do excess of either Brahmana or Lankhana, then it creates problems. Like, for example, excess of Brahmana therapy would cause profound obesity. It doesn't increase immunity, but it rather causes obesity. It causes many diseases like diabetes, for example. So here, actually, it causes immune breakdown because excess nourishment, which the body cannot assimilate, actually causes breakdown of your immune system. It can cause fever, enlargement of abdomen, and many, many other diseases, as well as skin diseases. And on the other hand, so when a person is overnourished, then we have to use treatments that are again on the Lankhana side. So most of the time we have to balance between Brahmana and when that ideal balance is achieved, that is when the patient goes on the real rejuvenative mode. And that's when the immune system really begins to stabilize. So I'm not going into the details in these slides. So there are many, many formulations mentioned. So you can look at the slides and find out which are the herbs that are available in your own region. And this is again very specific formula for obesity, which you can again check if these medicines are available. So these are helpful in conditions where excess nourishment has been done to the body. And in a similar way, if you do excessive Lankhana, then it causes imbalance, like it can cause delusion, dizziness, cough, severe dehydration, anorexia. And many other problems, loss of sleep, loss of urges or, vitality, and all these problems come from excessive Lankhana. So that is the key thing, that you have to balance all these therapies all the while. So in Ayurveda, we did not recommend doing one type of treatment in excessively. So choosing the sequence of therapies, this is also very crucial for success. So from our discussion so far, what we are learning is that, learning to do a particular therapy or treatment is one skill. That doesn't always ensure clinical success. So you may be a very good expert masseur. You may be a good person who can do emesis very perfectly. You can induce it in a patient. But if your choice of the condition, if your treatment plan, how you sequence Lankhana and Brahmana together to produce a balanced effect, if that treatment algorithm is not correct, then your expertise in doing all these treatments will not be productive. That's the main point that I wanted to do today. And if you compare emaciation and obesity, Ayurveda says that emaciation is better than obesity because it's much more difficult to treat obesity than emaciation. And I just wanted to mention it as it is. A lot of people think that Ayurveda is vegetarian. Although Ayurveda recommends vegetarianism, it would be wrong to say that Ayurveda is fully vegetarian. For example, for emaciation, Ayurveda considered meat is to be the best medicine. Of course, for non-meat eaters, Ayurveda gives other options, but then it also considers this as extremely good for nourishing and increasing the strength of the body. So though the states of doshas are innumerable and there are so many types of treatment, ultimately they can all be reduced into these two categories, Brahmana and Linkana. And based on these logics, if we apply the treatments that we have studied, then we are likely to get a very balanced and very positive response. So I want to go on to a small case study before we conclude today. Exactly. This is what the body is normally doing. Exactly. Because the body is always in a rasayana mode. And disease happens when we lose the rasayana mode. Then the body goes into a lankana or brahmana mode. So when the body goes into a lankana mode, we get diseases that are depleting, which causes tissue destruction and many diseases of that kind. When the body goes into a brahmana mode, then we get diseases of accumulation, of overnourishment. And the natural state of the body is a balance between the two, and that's rasayana. So the purpose of treatment is to cut off these excesses and bring back the body to a state of natural balance. So I think that's exactly what you have stated. It's a very nice way of telling and defining what is rasayana. So if it's all clear now, we will go to the final case study, and with this we conclude this module. And we have 12 more hours, and I am hoping that we will have continuous webinars in the next 2 weeks, 2 webinars a week. And so with 4 webinars, we will be able to complete the entire course, also the 3rd module, by 30th November, so that before December we are through with this whole course. So now I just want to show the importance of, because we talked a lot about Svedana. So Svedana, this case study, because we started with the treatment of Vata, and as I was mentioning, to release blocked Vata. Sveda is excellent. And in this condition, I'm going to talk about Fowler syndrome. Yeah, I will explain. 11-year-old blind child, came to a medical college hospital with complaints of difficulty in passing urine. And by examination, it was found that she was suffering from Fowler syndrome. Now, Fowler syndrome was first described in 1885, and this is a condition because it's named after Fowler who described it, so that's how it got the name. And this condition is characterized by difficulty in passing urine, and there's urinary retention. It happens because of the urinary bladder. The sphincter muscle of the urinary bladder becomes very contracted and it fails to relax. So it usually affects young women, and most of the people also have polycystic ovaries, so we do not know the reason for this correlation. Now, the cause of Fowler syndrome is not yet known and it's still under research, but it can happen spontaneously or following an operative procedure or even during childbirth. So, to put it simply, in Fowler syndrome, you have your urinary bladder, the sphincter becomes very tight and it doesn't release, so all the urine, gets accumulated in the urinary bladder. Now, the treatment options are still being researched and developed. We do not have very simple treatments. But the thing is, many patients, are still normal in spite of the disease because there is not a complete block. So it's only that they take longer time to clear the urine. So they are not usually subjected to any treatment. And in some patients, the bladder function may also spontaneously recover, so they don't need any treatment. And some patients, we have to do catheterization and then remove the excess urine at regular intervals. But in certain other patients, where the condition is very severe, they do surgery by implanting a device which will stimulate the sacral nerve and then cause the sphincter to release, and then the urine will be eliminated. So this is known as sacral nerve stimulation surgery. So this is the most, ultimate treatment, which is very expensive and which requires a surgery. So in our particular patient, she suffered several episodes of retention, and this did not respond to medication. Finally, they suggested that we have to do sacral stimulation surgery, which means that a device would have to be implanted which would keep stimulating the sacral nerve so that, they would. So in the meantime, the patient also experienced a spontaneous recovery, and then the surgery was postponed, and then the symptoms reoccurred, and then again she was referred for sacral nerve stimulation surgery. It happened that the cost was very high, and so the family sought help from Chief Minister, and yes, but that is different. This condition is related to only the sphincter muscle of the urinary bladder. So it's a very specific condition called Fowler syndrome. So at this time, the patient sought Ayurvedic treatment. And what I wanted to point out that in Ayurveda, the most important treatment that was done was Avagaha Sveda, because we diagnosed this condition as Vata, a problem of Vata. And when Vata is blocked, then Svedana is the line of treatment. And Avagaha Sveda is very specific, or immersion, fermentation. By immersion in a bath, a hot bath of medicated herbs. This is a line of treatment. Of course, the patient was also given other medications, but the main treatment was Avagaha Sveda. And this case is documented, and we are now also going to publish this. And we can see that very, very interestingly, we found that the patient passed urine on the third day of this Vedana. While the patient was undergoing Svedana, on the third day she passed urine in the bath itself. So you can see the power of Svedana, a condition which would have required sacral nerve stimulation surgery, costing so many thousands of, lakhs of rupees, which was unaffordable by the patient. The patient responded with just 3 days of Avagaha Sweda. So this is the importance of the principle of treatment for specific doshas. Sweda is for Vata and Avagaha Sweda for Apana Vata. So when we choose the treatment very specifically, then the results are almost instantaneous. And now when you look at the sonography, there is no urine retention and there was no abnormality seen. The patient is symptom-free since the last 3 months. So that's our webinar for today. We looked at the context today in which Ayurvedic treatments become effective. So if you don't understand the principles of the doshas and the Brahmana Lankana concept, then even if we are very good in performing the treatment procedures, we may not get the proper result. That's the message I wanted to convey. And the last case study that we discussed is a very good example of how a very simple treatment, Svedana, becomes so powerful, more effective than even the sacral nerve stimulation surgery. Within 3 days, it produces a result in a condition called Fowler syndrome. So with that, we conclude our section on therapies and treatment procedures. And we have 4 more webinars of 3 hours each, which I hope to complete in the next 2 weeks, so that by the end of November, on November 30, we can complete our entire course module. So thank you.